afternoon, everybody. My name is Derek Sockleben with the Spectrum team. I'm joined here by Tom Cogswell as well as James Haley. And we are going to do a live Q&A on the smart technology products, the batteries and chargers that we launched last week. So I know there's a lot of questions floating around out there on the web. So if you have any of those, go ahead and ask on here, and we're going to try to address every question that comes through, battery and charger related. So the launch that we had last week was the Spectrum Smart Charging System. So the smart technology that's in these batteries and chargers allows you to connect your batteries a little bit. It allows for a lot more connectivity, simplicity in your charging experience. So it offers a lot of really cool features that you don't typically have in standard charging systems. So without further ado, we'll kind of jump right in. And if you guys have any questions, let us know. But first, we want to start off with the AC charger. So the AC charger is a two-port, 2 by 100 watt charger that has all the smart capabilities built in, and as well as the DC charger, which is a 1 by 200 watt. So what this entails is a small microchip on every smart battery that communicates directly with the charger to read things like your chemistry, your cell counts, your capacity, all this vital stuff that you normally would have to kind of program into a charger and set the correct charge rate and settings that you prefer. With the smart charging, it reads that automatically, and all you have to do is press start on the charger. And you can set that, right, James? You can set it for whatever charge rate you prefer. So I know that was one of the big questions is, can you set your own charge rate? Oh, yeah. And you can, because when you jump into the smart settings, you can set a preferred charge rate, and every time you plug that battery in, it will recognize that charge rate, and it's ready to go. All right, I got a lot of questions now. I talked for a little bit, and we got a lot of questions, so we'll go ahead.
Let's just introduce ourselves real quick, right? We got James here. James, he's one of our R&D guys. A lot of you might know his face, and I'm Tom. I'm going to try to be the moderator for here. And for a lot of you guys that are watching, maybe you know that we're going to be giving away 3 of these guys. The DC charger. During this live presentation, we're going to give you a 24 hours period to enter. And I'm going to go ahead and post in the comments what the terms are real quick, but it is only for US and Canada, so sorry for you guys on the other parts of the world. We can't really do contests there at this point in time. So let's get back into questions.
Yeah.
So first one we got here is from Terrence. Will the chargers be able to track internal resistance? So I started this one because I saw the comment come through. So the chargers, let's see if Rory can get the camera over here. So it doesn't keep track of internal resistance from the history standpoint, but while you're charging, it does give you internal resistance. You always want to check that after a battery's been fully charged. Checking it along the charge status, the internal resistance will vary. But yes, it gives you internal resistance. You do have to have the balance lead connected to get internal resistance because it is measuring those cells at a lot different, more accurate over the balance lead than in the internal chip in the battery. Next one here is from Chris. Will they be using the same IDE chip that Traxxas uses or similar? So Traxxas uses an RFID chip, which is a little bit different. So that's just basically reading it when it's close to the charger. And that's just setting charger settings, that kind of thing. What's actually a little different about these is there's actually a board inside the battery, a very small one, that's hooked up to each individual cell, and then has one signal lead coming across here on this center pin. And what that's doing is, it's basically like a black box. So it's keeping track of history of the battery, cycles, any basically overcharges, over discharges, temperature of the battery, and that's about it for the battery standpoint. Now, when you hook it up to the charger, then it's saying, this is the battery type I am, I want to be charged at this rate. Kind of leading into the next question from Darren, you can adjust the cutoff voltage for 4.22. We can do that here. But yes, so all of those things, it actually just tells the charger immediately when it's connected what it is and how it wants to be charged. So you can adjust the cutoff voltage right there.
Yep.
So it's a little different than like that, but like I said, but it's very similar when it comes to the charging aspect. Charger automatically knows what it is and everything.
Yep, and one thing that's important, you're asking, the question was about adjusting the settings. One thing that is locked on these when you use the smart battery and charger together is the chemistry. That's really a big safety feature. So when you plug a smart battery into a smart charger, it's going to recognize the chemistry of the battery, and that will you're not going to be able to change that. So if it's a LiPo, it's going to stay a LiPo. And that's really for safety reasons. But for as far as charge rate and voltage and everything like that, that is still all adjustable. When the battery comes out of the box, it has everything preset, but you're more than welcome to adjust that stuff. There wasn't a question on here from Marco. Marco says, so I have to change the whole enchilada in my aircraft? No, and that's one of the big features of the smart system is it's entirely backwards compatible with our current EC3 and EC5 connectors. So I brought one up here just for that point. This is a EC3 connector here, and James is handing me this here. So I'll show you here. You can plug them in directly, and it's basically the same dimensions. Well, it is the exact same dimensions as our EC connectors. The only difference is, and I don't know if Rory you can get in really tight on that. I'll try to hold it really still. But the little center pin that runs the data to the chargers just slides right in between kind of the bullet areas of the EC3 and the EC5 as well. So you don't have that connection there, but what you do have is a total backwards compatibility with all that EC3 and EC5 gear. So that was by design, of course, so we don't want to obsolete anything that we have.
If you have stuff out there, this will work with it. If you buy new, it'll also work. It goes backwards compatible, forwards compatible, completely there. A few questions here. Are there going to be any HV batteries? This was the initial launch. There will always be some new stuff coming, filling out the portfolio, batteries and chargers. So this was just kind of phase one, as you can say. So keep an eye out for some new stuff always as we kind of fill the lineup. This was the majority that kind of hit a lot of the main products that we carry and some of the top sellers.
Yep, we'll be continuing to expand our portfolio of batteries. Look at the needs in the community and the needs for our products like we always have, and make sure that we have a solution for that. So this, like James said, this kind of takes care of the general RC hobby when it comes to surface and air. There's obviously different applications that need different batteries, and we're of course exploring that.
Another question here from Robert. How much power is the smartboard taking, and how long could the battery sit in storage mode before the smartboard would drain the battery? So there's two things there. The board itself, minuscule amounts of power, negligible when it's just sitting there. It does have a really cool feature where it is auto-discharging the battery after a set time period. So these will be default at 24 hours. So after 24 hours, if you leave your battery charged, which is one of the worst things that can be done to the battery for the longevity of the cells and the health of them, is it will slowly start to discharge. And it is a slow discharge. It's a very small board inside. It's just bleeding off basically through heat, very small amounts. And what that'll do is it'll slowly discharge it. So on a 6S5000, after the 24-hour period, it's probably going to take it about 6 to 7 days to fully discharge the battery down to a storage voltage. The 1300, the 3S1300, it's taken less than a day.
Yeah, so I did a lot of testing on the 3S1300 because I was running through quite a few different batteries on that. But the 3S1300, knowing that it was a smaller pack, I knew it was going to discharge quicker. When I did the test on that, at the 12-hour mark when it started, I set it for 12 hours. On that 12-hour mark when it started discharging, it took about roughly 13 to 14 hours to hit that storage voltage point. And then I continued to test it, just check the voltage on it days later, and it was still resting at that storage voltage. So it takes a while. It's a slow discharge. It's not anything that's going to go very quickly, but it is a cool feature that batteries today don't have that adds a lot of longevity to the battery. A lot of stuff that, I'm sure everybody's guilty of. I know everybody out there, that runs a lot of batteries and different applications. You're going to inevitably bring one home and have one charge that you forget to discharge, or you just, you're
crashed
busy.
and didn't get to finish your flying.
Yeah, or it rains, you charge up 10 batteries and it rains, and then you have to go to work, and so it's...
Who goes to work?
Life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way.
Another one from John here. Is it 12 volt and 110 compatible? So the DC charger runs on 7 to 32 volts. So pretty much anything you can throw at it, it will take. And then the AC charger is only 110. So we have an option for both. We also have the power supply here that we're coming out with. This is a 30 amp, 18 volt power supply. So this will pretty much run this bad boy at full capacity easily. You can also run multiple chargers, has USB on it, so you can charge your phone at the same time from the power supply, or on the AC charger it also has USB built in. So either way, if you're running either option, you can still charge your phone, still charge everything at the field, GoPro, whatever.
Yep.
I got a question on YouTube. He just wants to confirm, and it's an easy answer, if smart batteries will work on non-smart chargers. So on
Yep, 100%.
100%.
So yeah, we're not limiting smart to only smart chargers. So they'll charge, the chargers will charge legacy batteries, we're calling them, so, or smart, and the smart batteries will work on a legacy charger, or vice versa.
And it'll even continue counting how many chargers is on that
Yeah.
smart battery. It knows it's being charged, and it keeps that count.
Yeah, it's still, the battery's still doing all the smart stuff internally.
Yeah.
You will have to set your charger to all the settings still
Right.
on the old stuff, so no change there in reality.
Yeah, it charges like any other battery if you use it on a, say a dynamite charger or anything like that. But to Tom's point, it will continue to, the chip will continue to record all of that data, the exception logs, if you over temp, over discharge, overcharge on that, it'll continue to record that. So say you take it home and then you plug it into your smart charger, it'll still have all those capabilities. So
Another question I saw here is from Mark. So what's the benefits of DC versus AC? So that's a really good question. It's actually something we talk about internally a lot. It all depends. So a lot of DC chargers, the kind of history behind them is they can provide a lot more charging capacity, current, basically, because they have a designated power supply that's usually much larger, so it can provide that power output. So the AC chargers are usually limited by their size. The power supply is built in them. So that's a 2 by 100. So that's a 2 by 100 charger. That means it also can power share. So it could, if you're only charging one battery, it'll charge up to about 180 watts on one channel. That said, this is also a 200 watt charger, just a single port. So you can see it's a lot smaller, but you have to have a designated power supply.
Yep.
There will be some, new chargers in the future that can do a lot higher charge current in roughly the same size.
Yep.
So that's the key. Usually DC chargers have the ability to charge faster for a lot smaller footprint than an AC charger. So both have benefits, a lot more compact, convenient for at home, on the workbench. Also, where you use it. A lot of air guys go to a field and maybe don't have power. They might even have battery rail, so only 12 volts or 24 volts is available. So that's one reason for a DC charger. The other thing is very compact and portable.
Yeah.
Throw it in your transmitter case, throw it in your backpack, and then have power wherever you're at.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is this one's not charging? I'm going to unplug it. The nice thing about this DC charger is say you have a larger pack with an EC3 or an IC3 on it, or even an adapter, you can just plug it right into the input port there, and it'll power the charger, and you can continue to charge. A smaller battery. And I know a lot of guys that kind of go out to a little more remote fields do this a lot. You bring a very big battery.
7,000 milliamp just for that.
Yeah, like a 7,000 or anything, that kind of size, and knowing that you can recharge, 5 or 6 smaller batteries off of that. So being able to take just this single solution as well as, the rest of the batteries, you don't necessarily need the power supply, is also really convenient for a lot of people too.
Another question here from Steven. What is the cost of the batteries as opposed to what is out now? So compared to a Dynamite or E-Flite battery, that's kind of our legacy batteries, there's no more than a few dollars to max 10% increase for this. Remember, all these batteries are supported through hobby channels, dealer network, so you can get them at your dealers, your hobby shops, so they're available everywhere and for very little cost increase.
Yeah, I think, for example, the like a 3S2200 in E-Flite right now is about $29.99. The 3S2200 smart battery is $33. So it's a $3 difference for all that tech and all the features that you get with those batteries. So it's not overly significant, but there is tech there that does have an increased cost to it, but very minor.
Yeah. They're really good cells, and I think with the self-discharging where it stores itself, they'll actually last a lot longer.
Yeah, I think in the end, if you buy into smart batteries and the smart system, I think in the end you're going to be saving money just from not replacing packs quite as often. You know, some people out there may be very kind to their batteries, and I will say,
I am
you know,
not one
good
of
for
those.
you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are not, so having kind of that built-in feature is going to make a big difference.
I've got a question on YouTube here, which actually I kind of would like an answer to. I don't know what James would say to it, but do you think the hard packs, like the 3 and the 2 cell, would be able to handle the draw of like one of our boats that we've got? Like
Yeah, for sure.
boats?
Yeah. You know, I see a lot of questions about the C rating and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are definitely they'll work in Arma, low C, a lot of the 6S, BLX stuff. You know, all the big vehicles, no problem. They'll handle the load of all of those. You know, C ratings in general, actually, a couple of the questions here. Are we going to do a Shorty 100C pack?
Yeah.
You know, how does the C rating compare? So that's a internal question that we've talked about a lot lately as well. And
Why can't we just do 600C?
yeah.
Yeah.
So C ratings, you know, obviously as Horizon, we've talked to a lot of manufacturers about this, of LiPo batteries, and you know, what is a true C rating that can actually be achieved by these cells? 30Cs is a very good actual true C rating. We actually have these on the test machine here. We can actually hit them at a true 30C test, where a lot of batteries that even are rated 3 times higher fail. You know, these cells live. So there's no, I would say.
I think the thing is you know, there's a lot of discrepancy when it comes to battery manufacturers and the way they gauge and promote their C ratings, and we, you know, always make sure to you know, advertise an accurate C rating. You know, the testing that we put these through, and 30C is very accurate, and it's it's still a very good C rating. While, you know, it may peak higher than that, of course, but the good thing is that the consistency of the pack and the consistency of the cells, and you know, a really good discharge rate at 30C. So.
Yep.
I've been running these batteries for a while on some pretty heavy duty stuff.
Yep.
I'd say that they hold up pretty well.
Yeah, we've put these through a lot of testing. I know James with our recent Fusion 480. That thing runs on 6S 5000, 6S 32s, to 6S 5000s, and we were at IRCHA, and you were running, you know, those batteries back to back to back to back,
Yeah.
and really putting them through their paces. And you know, none of them showed any kind of wear. They were taking it like really well. So even, you know, high draw, high current draw, high use applications like that, they're holding up just fine.
Yep. Let's see here.
Question here.
Any
I lost
plans
it.
for a full port charger? Also, let's see here, a higher discharger. I'll say a lot more is coming. Like I said, phase 1 here.
Yeah.
So keep checking back. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. That's definitely for sure, especially built around all of this, not just maybe necessarily chargers.
So excited.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do they have reverse polarity protection? No, unfortunately not. The batteries referring to, right?
I don't know, batteries or chargers.
The chargers.
The-
do.
So the
Yeah,
chargers have
Chargers-
reverse polarity
Right,
protection.
the
Yep.
chargers do. Yeah, okay. Are the chips repairable, Keith? That's an interesting question, James. Do you have an answer to that?
I don't know how you would break one. I guess I could see it in a pretty hard crash, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say at this time, no, the chips aren't repairable. But if you look at it in the essence of, if you're doing something and you damage a battery to the point that you damage that chip, which is, you know, hard PCB in there with
In
a
there
lot of
under
soft
some
cells.
protection, yeah.
Yeah, with around all the soft cells, I think you got a bigger problem than a chipped, really rigid PCB. Most likely, you will have damaged the cells of the
But
battery.
I will
which-
say, I will never say never. So
Yeah.
if you have the skills and the eyes to do it, bravo.
All right, let's do the question.
We still got questions coming in, man.
Questions? Well, let's.
Well, let's do our question because
Yeah.
that's a 24-hour.
And you
kind of
guys are
thing,
very
so-
important.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Tom. So
All right.
take it away.
All right, so we are doing a contest during this live, but as well, it'll be within 24 hours if you're watching this. You know, if you get off work and you watch this, like, oh, you didn't miss it. You can still enter. Give us what you think the year that the first Spectrum radio was shipped. Not a module, not some sort of, you know, adapter, but Spectrum radio was shipped. What was the year of the first Spectrum radio?
I know because I looked it up.
He looked it up.
It's a good one. Good question.
I was wrong when I would have guessed.
It'll probably take a lot of you out there a little bit of research, which that's the fun of it. But you have 24 hours, so Google's very fast. But come back to this live and comment the answer in this post. And like Tom said, after 24 hours, tomorrow we'll shut down the commenting that it's eligible for the giveaway, and we will basically pick some random names.
Yep. On Monday we'll pick a random name, and we're looking at YouTube and Facebook lives. So don't be discouraged if you're watching it on YouTube right now, or vice versa. Yep. And we'll send you an instant message if you were the winner. So, and once again, it's only U.S. and Canada minus Quebec and the rest of the world. Sorry, guys.
But if you know anyway, go ahead and throw that answer in there.
Yep.
Let's see here. I got one here. Can I charge a 2S LiPo receiver pack without balancing on the charger? Usually don't have time to charge during a race. So that's a great question. So we can show you here. So this isn't a 2S receiver pack, but we'll just say it's a 6S. Or we're going to go ahead and here throw it on the charger. So the cool thing is I'll unplug it, let it reset here, plug it back in. So this is the same thing. You plug in your 2S battery. It's going to auto-detect it. This one's a 6S battery, knows the temperature, 3200 milliamp. I'm going to scroll here while Derek tries to help. I'll prop it up there.
You're not going to be able to see well, but the camera can see better.
Knows the cycles. But the cool thing is it also still knows the individual cell voltages. Just over the one wire. And just by hooking this up, it's going to balance on the internal board as well. Now, it is very slow, just because it is built in, compared to plugging in the balance connector. But it is going to balance. So if your cells are good, healthy cells, relatively in balance within a few hundredth of a volt, it's going to balance. And the only difference is now it's just going to ask you, do you want to balance, charge without a balance connector hooked up? And you can go, yep. And away it goes. So yeah, you can completely do it without hooking up the balance lead. Still, that said, still highly recommend always balancing with the balance lead. It can balance it almost 8 to 10 times faster. So it's just a lot better to do, but it is capable of it, and it's still going to balance and everything over the one wire.
Yeah, that's one of the features he just mentioned that I love about these chargers is they balance super quick.
Yeah.
When you have the balance lead hooked up.
Yep.
Question on here was, where is the history stored on the charger and battery? If you're just now joining us, that was one of kind of the first things we talked about. Within the battery pack, there's a little microchip. And that microchip has essentially a flash memory on it that will store all that data and all those cycle logs and error logs and everything on there. In the charger, same situation. There's a little memory chip in there that will be counting the cycles on the charger as well. So most of the information, I'd say the majority of the information does come from the battery itself. The charger will also store the information too.
So yeah, there's actually two things storing data in reality. The charger's storing its own history internally, and the battery's storing its history inside the battery.
Will the charger, excuse you, James. Will the charger, Henry's asking, will the charger help you in detecting a failing cell in those smart batteries? Yes, actually. So there's a couple indicators. It's not gonna, when you plug it in, it won't yell at you saying, "Oh no, your battery's going bad." But with all that detailed information, that you get off of the battery,
Appreciate that.
you can kind of make your own determination. So there's a couple things that you can check if you go to the exemption record that shows all the overcharge, over discharge, over temperature events. That'll help to tell you, if the battery's been abused a little bit. The other thing is internal resistance. So James showed earlier in this live, it'll actually read the internal resistance of the of each cell in each individual cell. When that internal resistance climbs, that means that cell's degrading over time, and it's maybe stayed charged, or you over discharged it and left it for too long. If it's overcharged or you left it charged, it'll actually auto discharge. So that's really not as much of an issue on these, but certain things like that that you can tell from the data that you get from the battery.
Let's see here. One question I saw, which is kind of a tricky answer, but it's doable. So obviously people run different connectors. So Deans, XTs, a lot of different connectors out there. Nice thing is if there's any adapter, we sell a lot of them XT adapter to EC3, EC5, XT90s. You can still use those existing adapters to an EC, and it'll still work just fine. So say you want the ability to charge these smart, but you don't want to change over all your vehicles. You can completely do that on the adapter. The one thing we didn't talk actually about is the connector.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We
it's
kind of
glazed
That's
over
a
that
big
one.
important thing that we briefly mentioned, but I know there's probably a lot of questions out there about the connector. To lead off, like you said, the big question is the compatibility with other adapters, and it's entirely backwards compatible with our EC3 and EC5 connectors. So a lot of those adapters that we developed for EC3 and EC5 to the other connectors out there in the RC world will work. Now, the connector on the smart batteries and the connector that we're developing here is a lot different than what the EC connectors were. So
Yes.
we've taken years and years of feedback, because that's been our primary connector for everything in our lineup for a long time, and developed this essentially from the ground up, knowing that we had to integrate the data cable for the smart technology. The connectors are new, and James actually worked a lot closer with these connectors in the development, so I'll kind of let him speak to that a little bit. There's a lot of cool things about it that are much different than what we've had in the past.
Yeah, so the 3 and 5, so kind of our standard two main connectors. On the battery side, there's a small pin right there in the middle that's doing all the communication. So that's the only real difference from a physical outward facing appearance. Big change though that we've done to the physical connector itself. So we've changed the plastic of the actual housing, so it's a much higher temp resistant plastic. There's also now a cap on here. So and that I could show you on this one is because now the bullets are now insert molded. So there's no more need to shove a 1.5 millimeter driver in there and snap them in. They're insert molded in. So is the data line. So it's easy to solder. There are cups on each side. You can put big gauge wire on there. Everything fits super easily. The 5s handle up to almost a 10 gauge wire, so plenty of size there. If you don't want to run the cap, you could run heat shrink even still. So that's really convenient. But yeah, the 3s and the 5s all use caps now. They're insert molded, very easy to snap on, but on a pull load, good. The other big change now is on the device side, is they are a spring bullet. So they're got a hole in the middle. A lot of the old style actually had kind of the shell clam around it. And this allows them to be a much smoother fit, but still have good tension. So it's very nice, easy to unplug, and consistent. The other big change that we've done is now this connector is a one-source solution for Horizon. Some of the 5 and the 3s were multi-source, and we've had a lot of variances in the connector. So some are super loose, some are tight. So we've gone now down to one source, and that has allowed us to keep consistency across all cars, airplanes, chargers, and just makes it a lot more consistent and better charge lead now. So it's very easy to swap over.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite features about, well, there's a lot of really cool features about the smart technology, but I am excited about the connector. We've been testing them here for a long time, and they stand up really well.
Yeah, they're really
to
heat
a lot
resistant too. I've soldered a bunch of them.
Yeah, fun fact, we got a lot of battery samples here with no connectors to test, so solder all in-house, and we made that Tom's job.
I was gone for that day, so imagine that.
I got a question on YouTube. Are we going to have any 1S smart batteries?
So that's a great question. So other than the data logging black box, a 1S battery is really as smart as it can get.
It's a single cell.
Yeah, single cell. They're pretty small normally. So we do have some new smart 1S chargers, and that's because they're as smart as they can get. But no true PCBA. I mean, the chip is small, but for a 1S battery, it's about the same size. Or
It'd be almost like doubling the cost.
doubling the weight.
The weight too.
Yeah.
Too,
So-
especially for the smaller 1S batteries, and struggling to think of any batteries that are 1S batteries that are much larger
I mean,
than that.
you racing packs like saddle packs, but
Oh,
that's not really very common anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something that we can explore if there's enough interest in it, but at this time, I mean, 1S battery is about as smart as they can get. It's a single cell you have to worry about. So
Another question I got on here is if somebody takes the connector off of their battery, is it going to void the warranty? That was from Victor.
So we have not necessarily had that void the warranty in the past.
Yeah.
It's all really up to Proc Support's discretion, and
But speaking of the warranty, they do have a 1-year warranty on them.
Yep.
Which is a big deal for a LiPo battery, I would say.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, we have a lot of, after putting these packs through their paces for a lot of months, many months, I have a lot of confidence in the cells on these. So, and I hope you will too. The 1-year warranty kind of says that, and we're confident about it. We're happy with the smart technology as well as the raw cells also. So,
We haven't gone over prices yet.
prices, yeah. So I'll jump into the chargers first. So the AC charger is the dual port, 2x100, $149.99, correct? And that basically comes with the charger, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah, charger and the
Yep.
AC cord.
Yep. And then the power supply is $99.99, I believe. So that actually is the dual port, variable voltage, 12 to 18 volt power supply, 540 watt, 30 amp, dual outputs, and dual USB. So you get a lot of cool things on that power supply for the price. And the DC charger is $64.99. So just this little box here, all the smart capabilities, and you just got to power it with, like James said, with another battery or the DC charger for $64.99. So I know a lot of guys are interested in taking the power supply with the dual output and just buying 2 of these small chargers and running them both off the single power supply.
That works great.
Yep. So you have 2 instead of having one charger that does 2x100. You can actually have 2 200-watt chargers for those guys that are running bigger batteries, helicopter packs,
And really,
things like that.
you're only at that point you're spending maybe $70 more than this guy.
Yeah.
You get 2 of those in one of these.
Yep.
Yep. So there was one question about the 2x100 there. So it is a 200-watt total charger. So it's not 200 watts per channel. It's 100 watts per channel. That said, if you're only charging one battery, it will power share automatically. So it'll dump over 80 watts from the other channel over. It has to leave a little bit of wattage just on that channel just to detect batteries and such. But yeah, so it'll charge 175, 180 watts on one channel if you do need it to.
Yeah.
Parallel charging, I saw somebody else ask about that. We don't recommend parallel charging. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. That said, we know people do it. The chargers will accept it. It just depends on how you guys do it on your own. But yes, they will accept parallel charging if you want them to.
Any questions on YouTube?
I do. Will the LiPos, and this is from Julian, will the LiPos be compatible with BATGO chargers?
That's a great question. We've seen a lot of questions about ISDT in here. Obviously, a very popular brand, especially in the FPV community. So BATGO for ISDT, they use a different connector. So not specifically is it compatible.
If they made an adapter, would it work?
Most likely, yes. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. I've seen a lot of questions about ISDT. Good charger brand, and obviously we've recognized that and been working very closely with them, I'd say.
Yeah, we worked very closely with them on
Quite a while.
projects. Yeah, for quite a while. So you can read between the lines on that one, I guess.
Balance current. So the balance current of the internal board is 0.1 amps. It's very slow, like I said, and the balance connector in the charger is 0.8 amps. So it's pretty fast
Almost
there.
an amp. Yeah.
Yep, almost an amp, which
so it
is pretty
balances a lot
significant.
quicker.
Yep. So that's why it's always better to use your balance connector.
So I'm seeing a lot of responses to our prize question. So as we talked and answered quite a few more questions, if you're just tuning in now, the question that we asked for the prize, if you're aware of that, is when was the first Spectrum radio shipped? What year? So if you comment that year and your guess in the comments, in 24 hours we're going to close kind of the contest window, and for everybody that got that answer correct will be entered in a drawing to win one of the DC chargers.
Andy P, who just joined us, should know this. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Andy. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. I hope you guys really enjoy these chargers as much as we do. It's really a revolutionary technology that we're excited to build upon here at Horizon and to continue to put into a lot of other things here.
Yeah.
So
Just remember,
exciting path forward
it's
for
just the
us.
start.
It's just the start, exactly. So if you have any more questions are slowing down a little bit here, go ahead and bop them on this live. Reach out to Spectrum RC on the Facebook page or Horizon Hobby Facebook page. We're going to be on there answering as many questions as we can. If you have anything and you're tuning into this later, we'll do our best to get to them.
Yeah, if you have any questions that pop up, we'll definitely try to get back to you.
So thanks for joining us. If you want to get into that contest, you have 24 hours to do so. So go ahead and comment the year that the first Spectrum transmitter was launched.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.